Let's talk about some books that were so good they kept me up until 3 in the morning to finish. And I just realized that actually all of these are fantasy books, so that checks out. Starting very strong with Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This first book in the trilogy is also sometimes called The Final Empire, so just FYI, but I'm rereading the series right now and it is even better than the first time. I gave the first book 5 stars and the second and third books I think are gonna be like 6-star territory. It's just so atmospheric. You cannot help but be like totally wrapped up in the story. Then we have The Will of the Many by James Islington, and I do not talk about this book enough on here considering that it was my favorite book that I read in 2023. This is an adult fantasy and it is just one of the best books that I think that I have ever read in my life, like period at all. The setting in this one is really cool. It has like an ancient Rome kind of vibe, and I have never become this attached to a main character in the first book of a series ever. I was very much crying at the end and gasping because the end was like crazy. I cannot wait for the second book to come out. Saga Press, if you see this, please send me an early copy of the second book. I need it. We have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, which I was obsessed with last fall. I don't think I shut up about it for like 1 second. The second book, Two Twisted Crowns, is really good as well, but this one still is my favorite. This book has the romance subplot to end all romance subplots. It is truly that good. And it is just so dark and atmospheric. Like you really feel like you're in the story, which I think is like a common theme with all of these books for sure. Very atmospheric. Speaking of atmospheric reads, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This book is basically just a love letter to the dark academia genre, so if you like that and you haven't read this yet, what are you doing? I think the reason I was so into this book is because it has a very complex main character. You want to root for her, but at times she is extremely flawed, and that's just really interesting. I've come to really like main characters that aren't so black or white. And then we have Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is a short read. I recently read it and it was 5 stars. I think this book was so unputdownable for me. I really did finish this book at like 4 in the morning because I just had to understand what was happening. I think it's best to go into this book pretty much knowing nothing, and you will kind of discover the story as it's unfolding with the main character, and the payoff really paid off for me. I'd been told that the ending of this one was so good and I was a little bit skeptical about that, but it was honestly everything I could have ever dreamed of. I'll be recommending this book to everyone probably forever. So those are the recommendations that I have for today. Definitely let me know which books kept you up until 3 a.m. reading, because that is always the best feeling when you just cannot put a book down. And as always, we will talk soon.